How words are learned. First, let's see how important is vocabulary. The communicative approach opened the possibility to rethink the conception of vocabulary, and since then, vocabulary has not been treated as a simple add to language. Words, collocations, and word frequency gained more attention. One big step to challenge hegemony of grammar was the emergence of lexical syllables, which was centered in the words that frequently appear in spoken and written English. Then on, vocabulary was not being treated as a simple add to language, as I mentioned before. On the contrary, all the other elements of language gain more importance and much more attention. Now, what does it mean to know a word? First, we have to take into account that having an extensive vocabulary is seen as the knowledge of a huge quantity of words. But in order to really know a word, we need to know not only its form, but also its meaning. Knowing the meaning of a word is not knowing just the dictionary meaning, but it's knowing all the words that are actually associated with it. So there we have collocations and possible connotations in different contexts. Let's see an example. There is a semantic network of the word hand. So first we have the relation with the body part. Next, help or aid in informal context. Then handwriting, direction or side, clock, made by hand, manual, pass or give, and then cards. So there are all the meanings that can be triggered by mentioning just the word hand. Next, how is our word knowledge organized? The way words are organized in our minds resembles more a kind of network web than a dictionary. The mental lexicon is usually described as a highly organized, interconnected fashion that stores words in our minds. Due to these interconnections, we make mistakes, like using the word breathe instead of breath. This suggests that words with similar sound and structure are closely interconnected. And during the search of one word, sometimes our brain activates one neighboring word. And this effect is called malapropism. Similar to a dictionary, resembling words seem to be located in neighboring regions, as I said before. There is a speed mechanism adopted by our brains to search words according to their meanings. So it is like having teams of words, let's say furniture, clothing, vegetables, fruits, etc. For example, if I want to say I like my new red dress, the lexicon immediately activates the clothing department instead of initiate the search of all words that begin with the, R, and E. So, it is worth mentioning that the fact that research and experiments have shown that the brain is predisposed to begin the search via meaning-based lexicon, that is, thesaurus-like, rather than form-based like dictionary-like lexicon. So all of these suggest that there is a semantic organization that has a form-based backup. That is one of the reasons why malapropism take place, as some parts of a speech sound alike and also share elements of meaning. Since the number of connections is enormous, the brain economizes on processing time, and several pathways will be activated simultaneously. moving across the networks in a process called spreading activation. Linked to this system, there are other areas of cognition involved. Word knowledge area, memory like personal or diary biography. So, the activation of a word can trigger personal experiences as well as general knowledge far beyond a simple dictionary with meaning of words. So, in conclusion, we can assert that knowing a word involves the compilation of semantic, syntactic, phonological, orthographical, morphological, cognitive, cultural, and autobiographical connections. Now, how is vocabulary learned? Acquiring vocabulary requires not only labeling, but categorizing skills. Now let's see what is labeling. It is a process that children carry out when learning their first language. They learn to map words onto concepts. For example, the word dog. Children need to differentiate how far can go the concept of a word because not all animals that have 4 legs are dogs. So they need to identify the boundaries of the word dog. And finally, children go through the process of network building, which means that they need to realize that common words like dog or banana can be replaced by a subordinate like animal or fruit. Now here we have examples with furniture and fruits. So furniture, we have table, bed, chair, sofa, sofa bed. And in fruit we have banana, orange, watermelon, pear. In what ways is the development of a second language lexicon different from that of the first language? Well, the process of learning a second language lexicon involves both learning a new conceptual system and constructing a new vocabulary network that is called second language lexicon. The learner is likely to shortcut the construction of a network of associations and just map or link the word of the second language onto the mother tongue equivalent. So there is where many mistakes take place. First of all, many of cross-language errors are due to what we know as false friends. Those are words that seem to be equivalent, but their meanings do not exactly correspond. There are some languages that share words with similar forms, and they are called cognates or real friends. They share meaning and form in the L1 and in the L2. And finally, there is other type of words called strangers, and these are words that have no equivalent in the L1s since the concept just doesn't exist in the lexicon of the L1. Now, how many words a learner needs to know? A remarkable difference between the first and the second language learning is the size of lexicon in each case. For instance, an educated native speaker can have a vocabulary around 20,000 words. It adds approximately 1,000 to 5,000 words a year until 5 years old. In contrast, an adult second language learner will be lucky to acquire 5,000 words after several years of study. It can be argued that the number of words a learner should know depends on the learner's needs. Is there a threshold level or core vocabulary that will serve in most situations? Well, it is often said that around 2,000 words are used on a daily basis by native speakers, and it is the same amount of words that dictionary normally use for language learners, and that is called defining vocabulary. The passive knowledge of 2,000 words, most frequent words in English of course, will permit any learner to understand 9 out of 10 words in any text. How words are remembered? Let's see first The function of the short-term memory. It is the capacity of the brain to hold a limited number of items of information, in this case words, for periods of time up to a few seconds. A clear example of this would be a student repeating a word that his teacher has just said. The next one is the working memory. It is the basis for developing cognitive tasks such as reasoning, learning, and understanding. The main function of working memory is focused on words long enough to perform operations on them. This memory can be described as a place where the information, in this case words, are placed, studied, and moved for later retrieval. Working memory is a tool that helps learners to download information from the long-term memory. And then, long-term memory. Unlike working memory, it has an incredible capacity and its contents are durable over time. However, it has been proved that this memory does not always work as people would like to work. For example, students can remember new vocabulary in one lesson, but in the following one, they do not remember anything. There is an important part of working memory that is called the articulatory loop. It is a process of subvocal repetition, and it works similar to an audio tape going round and round, so we can play it as many times as we want to examine it. Why do we forget words? Inevitably, we forget, and this happens not only in the short-term memory but also in the long-term memory. People forget rapidly due to the absence of opportunities to use the language in a period of 3 or 4 years after instruction. There are two factors that determine retention. The first one is easy to learn words are obviously better retained, and the second, words that are learned over spaced learning sessions are better retained than words that are learned in exaggerated amounts in just one class. Forgetting also might be caused by the interference of subsequent learning and by scarce recycling, that is, using the words on a daily basis. There are some ways of recording lexis. So, first we put words into storage, then we keep that vocabulary in storage, then we retrieve, and then we use. That is recycling process. What makes a word difficult? Let's recap. First, we have pronunciation, facts, spelling, length and complexity, grammar, meaning, range, connotation, and idiomaticity.